missed right here by one Angel Reese. Simple. Could have squashed a lot of things, a lot of narratives. Now, last year, of course, we know, and we've talked about this before, Caitlin Clark played in 13 games. In those 13 games, there were literally like what? 3 or 4 kind of incidents and 2 major incidents, including the Angel Reese, Caitlin Clark kerfluffle. Well, I hadn't used that word in a while. In which, of course, the
initial practice session has concluded and Caitlin Clark has addressed media representatives, marking her official return to competitive basketball. This moment arrives after months of waiting, with fans anticipating her comeback since August. While speculation suggested a potential return during the 2025 season that never materialized until now, Clark's presence has immediately generated trending topics and algorithm activity, with discussions centering on women's basketball's current landscape. Clark spoke extensively about the ongoing collective bargaining agreement negotiations, a topic that has dominated off-season conversations. Her comments reveal an athlete deeply engaged with the business side of professional basketball, understanding both player interests and league sustainability.
In which, of course, the major story coming out of that was Indiana Fever fans called Angel Reese racist something, which launched a massive investigation. Should be noted, Indiana Fever did not defend its fans there. They didn't. And then guess what? We found out they found absolutely no evidence of Indiana Fever fans.
During her media availability, Clark emphasized the critical importance of the current CBA negotiations, describing them as the most significant in league history. She stressed that this opportunity cannot be squandered, as the stakes have never been higher for women's professional basketball. Clark made clear that players intend to fight for everything they deserve while simultaneously recognizing the necessity of actually playing basketball. She acknowledged that fans crave watching games, and media outlets desire the product on the court. Clark explained that basketball performance drives revenue, builds markets, generates fan excitement, and motivates attendance. She characterized the situation as business negotiations requiring compromise from both sides.
Shouting, making sounds, none of that. None of it. In fact, it was some sound that was played over in the arena, that's played in every arena across some kind of YouTuber making some crazy ass noise. All right. Now, during that whole situation, I believe it was the next day or the day after, Angel Reese was interviewed after practice. She had an opportunity.
As negotiations intensify and approach deadlines, the importance of reaching agreement becomes increasingly urgent. Clark expressed willingness to assist negotiations however possible, noting her efforts to educate herself on the complexities involved. She admitted the inability to speak for every player, acknowledging the complicated nature of the discussions. However, she identified certain issues where players cannot compromise, alongside others where flexibility might exist. Most significantly, Clark emphasized not forgetting that this represents the biggest moment in WNBA history. She stressed the importance of ensuring next season happens, believing fans and everyone who built the league's foundation would want play to continue.
She had an opportunity to squash the narrative right there. I never heard anything that I would construe as being racist from those Indiana Fever fans, blah, blah, blah. She did not do that. She played along with it. Let's be real. She went along with that narrative. In fact, she was like, yeah, I feel good about the fact that they're doing an investigation. All the while knowing nothing happened.
Her comments suggest someone balancing aggressive advocacy for player rights with pragmatic recognition of business realities and fan expectations. The interview footage appears incomplete, with expectations that additional content will emerge. Media presence at the Durham facility has been confirmed, with reporters obtaining footage and conducting interviews with Clark and potentially other participants. This represents a shift from earlier reports suggesting restricted media access. The WNBA organization released a compilation video featuring Clark, demonstrating recognition of the content demands surrounding her. The footage shows Clark engaging in various basketball activities, reminding fans of the dynamic play that made her the league's most prominent figure.
They're doing an investigation, all the while knowing nothing happened. Well, there was another opportunity. Of course, a lot of us believes Angel Reese doesn't care for Caitlin Clark too much. We've heard a lot of things. I did a video. We found out a while back that Angel Reese really didn't care for Caitlin Clark because anytime anybody brought up, the success of the league, Caitlin was always...
Multiple content creators have begun producing videos around the released material, reflecting the immediate impact of her return to public basketball activities. Additional clips reveal Clark participating in shooting drills and scrimmages, displaying the skills that defined her career. One notable video captures a long-range three-pointer, shot cleanly through the net, demonstrating her signature shooting ability remains intact after the extended break. Footwear observers noted Clark wearing Nike Kobe Fire Pro shoes, apparently a new model for her. She successfully made deep shots while wearing them, suggesting comfort with the equipment. The shoe choice sparked conversation among fans who track her on-court gear selections.
Caitlin was always brought up, even if Angel was brought up. And that grinded her gears. Cry us a river. So, Angel Reese has come out and spoke about her time playing for USA Basketball. And she literally decides to name specific players in this video that was released by USA Basketball.
The return generates significance beyond simply seeing Clark play basketball again. Her articulate discussion of CBA negotiations demonstrates leadership within the player community. She positions herself as someone educated on the issues, capable of discussing nuances, and willing to take public stances on matters affecting all league participants. Her emphasis on compromise and pragmatism while maintaining firm positions on non-negotiable items suggests sophisticated understanding of negotiation strategy. Clark recognizes that successful outcomes require both sides making concessions, but certain principles remain sacrosanct. This balanced approach may prove influential as negotiations continue.
East by USA Basketball. She had an opportunity right here to just say, really enjoyed Caitlin Clark. I enjoyed catching passes from Caitlin. No. She decided not to do that. In fact, she praised Aaliyah Boston. But she passed on the opportunity to say anything positive about Caitlin Clark. She could have squashed.
The timing of her return coincides with critical juncture in WNBA labor relations. Player contracts expire, and the league faces decisions affecting its long-term trajectory. Clark's involvement, both as a prominent player voice and as a figure capable of generating attention, adds weight to the proceedings. Her public statements will likely influence both fan perception and potentially negotiation dynamics. Practice footage reveals an athlete appearing physically ready for competition. Her movements show no apparent limitations, suggesting successful recovery from previous season's injuries.
Caitlin Clark. She could have squashed all kinds of things right here. It's a perfect opportunity. Did she do it? No. And you will never convince me she didn't intentionally not do it. You'll never convince me of that. She knew what she was doing, in my opinion.
You want to be surrounded and play with the best. To be the best, you got to play with the best, and you got to beat the best. So I'm just really thankful to be able to be here with the best. I mean, I'm not going to...
The ability to practice at full intensity, make explosive movements, and execute high-level basketball skills indicates complete physical preparation. Beyond physical readiness, Clark's demeanor during practice sessions suggests positive mental state. She appears engaged, energetic, and enjoying the basketball activities. This contrasts with observations from late last season when she frequently appeared stressed and burdened by external pressures. Team USA Basketball's decision to provide substantial content featuring Clark serves multiple purposes.
15 years. I assume it's the same David Sampson, is it? And is it obviously a CB on CBS? Yeah, so he has now it's now got to the stage with him where he has said what I've been saying, that if the players are dead set on getting a revenue percentage as on a constantly fluctuating revenue percentage for the CBA, the league is going to end. Because that's what the NBA...
It satisfies fan demand for updates about their favorite player, demonstrates the program's talent level, and reignites conversation around women's basketball during the offseason. The strategy proves immediately effective, generating significant engagement across social media platforms. The intersection of Clark's return with CBA negotiations creates compelling narrative. The league's biggest star speaks forcefully about ensuring players receive fair treatment while emphasizing the importance of actually playing games. This positions her as both advocate and pragmatist, someone fighting for player interests while recognizing league economic realities.
Because that's what the NBA will not give them that. Because at the end of the day, what the league and all the investors that have 8 losses for 30 years, they have 8 losses for 30 years. What they want to be is they want to know what their incomings are going to be, what their outgoings are going to be, and how they can try and maximize profit while winning and run it like a proper organization. If you don't know year on year, if you give up a certain percentage...
Clark's combination of on-court excellence and willingness to engage serious topics positions her as central figure in women's basketball's next chapter. Recent social media posts from Lexi Hull have revealed the extensive recovery methods Caitlin Clark pursued while attempting to return from injury last season. Hull shared footage showing both players inside a hyperbaric chamber, accompanied by a caption noting the video represented one of her remaining draft posts. The footage contradicts any suggestions that Clark fabricated or exaggerated her injury status. Most reasonable observers never questioned the legitimacy of Clark's condition, though the revelation provides concrete evidence of her rehabilitation efforts.
Don't know year on year. If you give up a certain percentage, and that's constantly a fluctuating percentage based on all certain revenue, it becomes impossible to plan for that. It becomes impossible to do that. And that's why I think, by the way, I've said it from the very start that there was, I don't know if I believe this anymore. I said from the very start that the revenue percentage was never going to be reached, but because they will never get a percentage, they might get...
According to Clark's own statements, she approached roughly 80-90% recovery but never reached full health. Each attempt to return apparently resulted in additional complications because she hadn't achieved complete healing. The decision to remain sidelined proved sensible given the circumstances. While Indiana performed better than anticipated that season, advancing further than many predicted, few believed the team possessed championship potential. The organization faced a realistic assessment of their playoff prospects, making Clark's long-term health the priority over forcing an incomplete recovery for uncertain postseason.
Because they will never get a percentage, they might get a flat rate that is an equivalent, if not more, than the revenue percentage they want. But it seems that the buzzwords of equity and fair equity and stuff are coming in, that they would rather have equity in a league that fails than guaranteed money. And that is something that the league are not going to do because, again, if the league and these owners are eating losses, they need to know what loss.
The hyperbaric chamber treatment represents one element of Clark's comprehensive rehabilitation approach. Evidence suggests she pursued both conventional rehabilitation protocols and experimental therapies in her attempts to accelerate healing. Despite these exhaustive efforts, her body wouldn't cooperate with the timeline desired for playoff participation. Had Clark achieved full fitness, Indiana's championship possibilities would have improved significantly. While the Mercury presented formidable opposition during that playoff run, Clark's presence would have altered the competitive balance.
And these owners are eating losses. They need to know what loss, like for them, they need to know what losses they're eating every year so they can plan around that. If it's a constantly changing amount of money that's going to the players, it also means if the league booms, the owners don't profit. Those 58% of outside investors that kept the league afloat don't profit. This is something where everyone's like the NBA players get 51%. They do, but I think it's 51%. As far as I'm aware, for the NBA, they get a certain percentage at the start of the CBA.
However, rushing back from incomplete recovery could have jeopardized future seasons, making the conservative approach ultimately justified. The timing of Hull's post prevents the speculation that might have erupted if released during the active season. Similar situations with other players demonstrate how injury legitimacy becomes questioned regardless of visible evidence. Some athletes face persistent doubt about their medical conditions even after surgical procedures and documented incidents causing the injuries. Clark's critics maintain skepticism regardless of evidence presented.
They get a certain percentage at the start of the CBA, and then by the end of the CBA, you go up and up and up and up as time goes on by a fixed amount. The salary cap raises, I think, by a fixed amount. The salary cap doesn't fluctuate, and that's what the WNBA players are looking for. The WNBA players are looking for a fluctuating salary cap based on league revenue. As in, the league, if the league has a good year, it spikes. If the league has a bad year, it tanks the next year. And that's just not how a sports league is, an American sports league works. It's not.
The pattern suggests no amount of proof satisfies those predisposed to question her actions or motivations. Even extreme hypothetical scenarios wouldn't alter certain perspectives, as demonstrated by how media narratives sometimes distort situations involving the player. The footage has generated significant engagement across social platforms, attracting tens of thousands of views within hours of posting. Public curiosity about the video stems partly from confusion about the treatment's purpose and the circumstances of both players being present. Clark underwent the therapy for recovery purposes while Hull accompanied her, illustrating their friendship beyond professional relationships.
Sports league works. It's not how an American sports league works. If there was no salary cap, then the big problem with American sports leagues is like you get paid based on league revenue and league this, league that. No offense, Caitlin Clark is worth way more than a max contract on another team. Aja Wilson is worth way more than Alyssa Thomas. In a salary cap league, there is no fair pay. There is no such thing as fair pay for anyone.
Current indications suggest Clark has returned to optimal physical condition heading into the upcoming season. Her appearance reflects what observers describe as peak playing shape, the physical conditioning level where she performs most effectively. Athletes vary in their optimal body composition and muscle distribution, and Clark appears to excel with a leaner build. Clark's physical profile resembles endurance athletes more than power-based players. Her frame, taller and more elongated than comparable guards, benefits from functional strength rather than bulk.
For anyone. In a salary cap league, almost everybody, based on their actual worth, is either overpaid or underpaid. That is the problem with a salary cap league. It is an American sports league that is, ironically, for a country like America, is the most anti-capitalist thing ever, where every team has to be paid the same amount, and it's meant to be done in parity, but especially in the WNBA, it's not done in parity, because if you go to a big market, you get all your other brand